About a year ago, Databricks introduced their AI BI dashboarding tool, and it's extremely useful because not only you can build your dashboards from scratch using your data, but there are also plenty of pre-built, ready-to-use dashboards that you can very simply import into your Databricks environment. In my day-to-day job, I've noticed that a lot of companies are not aware that these dashboards exist. So in this video, I'm going to show you the best pre-built Databricks dashboards that everyone should use. I will also walk you through the installation process for each of these dashboards and also demo to you the key features. So you will end up with a better monitored Databricks environment where you can save on costs, where you can improve your performance, and also where you can make sure that the environment is according to your specific company best practices when it comes to security. I think this sounds great, so let's dive right into it. Number one, and probably the most fundamental one, is the cost monitoring dashboard. Still, a lot of people do not know that this out-of-the-box dashboard exists within Databricks and rely on other tools outside of Databricks to monitor their costs. Good news, it's very easy to import this out-of-the-box dashboard into your Databricks workspaces. So let's have a quick look on what you have to do to import it and also what you can see inside this dashboard. We start in the account console of Databricks. So you would either need to be an admin or you need to contact your account administrator and describe the required steps shown here, or just send the link for the documentation. So all we have to do is we click on usage over here, and then on the consumption tab, we need to import the dashboard. So here you see, as I've already imported it previously, for me it is saying re-import dashboard, but if I click over here, first of all, I can select if I want to import the cost information for my whole account, or if I want to do it for a single workspace. I select here account usage, and then I select a workspace. And this workspace over here that I select, for example, my demo workspace, is the one where the dashboard will be imported into. So I click on import over here, and then I will move into my workspace view. And here I have the dashboard imported right into my Databricks workspace that I've selected previously. So let's get an overview. What can I see here? First of all, you see your total usage for either your selected workspace over here or for your whole account. So for all workspaces together, you can filter by the date you want to see the cost information about. Then right here, you see an overview. Let's filter this by day. We see exactly where we spent our money on. So here, for example, on the 18th of January, I see that I've spent $6 on SQL. I spent around $11 on DLT, on Delta Live Tables, and around $9 on all-purpose compute. And you can here group by also other stuff. So right now it's grouping by the billing origin product, but you can also, for example, group by the workspace. If we scroll down, we see it here also in another format, in a tabular format. And right over here, when we get to the tag section, this is also a very important section. So in general, it's always recommended to tag all of your workloads. So to tag all of your clusters, to tag all of your jobs, DLT pipelines, and so on and so forth. Because later on, we can here in this cost monitoring dashboard, we can filter by a tag. So for example, here, let us select the demo tag, and then I will see all of the costs associated with this specific tag. So here I see that I have costs of around $14 for workloads that were tagged with the key demo and the value Lakehouse, FSI, Smart Claims, and so on and so forth. So this is extremely useful to trace back your costs. You should always have tags like project, environment, cost center, all of that, and then you can easily see where your costs are coming from. Down here, if we scroll further, we see also the top spending resources. So here again, you can filter by top spending job, for example, top spending DLT pipeline. So if we select cluster over here, for example, I see on the 10th of January how my spend was distributed along the different clusters that I've used. And I see the cluster IDs of those over here as well. And that's already it. It's quite easy to understand. You can also later on publish this one to your dashboards so that you can also give access to other people, or you can even extend this dashboard, because all this dashboard is doing in the background, if you click on the data tab over here, you see that it's just SQL queries running in the background. So right here, for example, we see that we are accessing the systems.billing table. And those system tables hold all of the information about your Databricks workspace, all of your usage, also a lot of important other information that will also be shown in the other dashboards that we will look into next. All right, so this was about the fundamentals to track your costs. I feel like some people already know about this dashboard, and next we will look into some dashboards that really not many people know about as of now. If you're concerned about security, and everyone should always be concerned about security, this next one will be definitely a big one for you. It's called the Security Analysis Tool, and what it does is that it scans your Databricks environment as well as your underlying cloud configurations. So for example, if you're using the Azure cloud, it will also scan your Azure configurations that are used for certain Databricks operations. And then it will provide you with a dashboard with a great overview about different security best practices and if they're met in your current environment, or maybe where are the rooms for improvement in terms of security. So where this comes from is that Databricks worked with thousands of customers in the past, right? And they always identify like very similar kind of best practices when it comes to security. And this is why the subject matter experts, again, decided to create this dashboard to check a lot of these best practices automatically by calling the APIs and checking configurations and all of that. And it even gives you some recommendations if certain security checks are not passed, what you should do, and it will also link you to the documentation to see how to fix this issue and how to be better secured. So it's super useful for security admins just to make sure everything is configured properly. You get an overview, you can be sure that you checked all of the boxes around security best practices, and you can even extend this list of checks that are performed. So maybe you say within my organization, I have some different security best practices. It's also very easy to include your company specific rules and checks into this dashboard. So let's have a look how this looks like and how to install it into your Databricks environment and what you can do with it afterwards. For the security analysis tool, we start within GitHub, as this is a Databricks industry solution and not natively baked into the platform. So we need to follow some steps to install that into our Databricks workspace. As you can see, it's quite popular. It does have a lot of GitHub stars already, and a lot of people and a lot of companies are using that already. If we scroll down over here, we get an introduction to it, how it works, what exactly it is doing. And to install it into our workspace, we need to do a couple of configurations. So we can follow this setup guide over here. There is a manual way to set things up. You need to make sure that you have access to your cloud environment to call the APIs over there and all of that. Or you can just choose the easy path and use Terraform to do all of that for you automatically. So we can go over here, we can copy this repository, and then we will get a couple of Terraform files that we can just deploy into our environment, and they will do all of the configurations that we make. They will create the service principal. They will ensure all of the access. They will import the notebooks that we need later on and all of that. So I really recommend to make this an easy setup to use Terraform for that. And this is exactly what we're going to look into next. I will not go into the specifics, just go through the guide. All you have to really do is to clone this repository, use the Terraform files. There are even templates for the variables already. There you need to provide some additional information like some tokens, your subscription ID and all of that. And then you can just deploy it into your environment. If your Terraform deployment was successful and you go to your workflows over here, you will see that you have two new jobs right here that were created by the Terraform deployment. So here you have the security analysis tool initializer notebook and the driver notebook over here. And what you have to do is to run the initializer once. So this is really a one-time execution that you need to get some kind of configurations and set things up. And then you have the driver notebook, and this one will be configured to be executed on a schedule to, from time to time, check your security configurations to always make sure things are still up to date in the dashboard and show you where you might have any gaps or if you're still good with all of the defined security rules. Alright, and now after we have executed these two notebooks, we can access the dashboard to give us the overview about our security status. For that, we go to Workspace and we go to Applications down here and select Dashboards. And then there it is, Security Analysis Tool, and then we can open this one. And we see already over here an account summary, and then we will also have a detailed workspace view. The account summary dashboard over here is pretty straightforward. So it shows us a summary of all of our analyzed workspaces, and it shows us for the different categories how well we are secured according to the best practices. So here for data protection, for example, we see we have 4 low issues, 3 medium ones. We see for governance, we have a high one, as well as for identity and access, we have some high ones. And for network security, for example, we see we have 3 medium issues. And down here, we would see it how this is distributed across the different workspaces. But again, as I have only one workspace I'm working with here, I see all of that only for my single workspace. And next, I can dive deeper into what exactly are the issues. So I go to the Workspace Detail tab over here and select my workspace. And now I can see exactly for this workspace what was checked and which tests I did not pass here. So here we have some overview data again. First of all, we check network security. Here we see we have no IP access lists for our workspace access configured, for example. So this is marked as a medium issue. And if I decide that this is something I want to do and this is something I should implement, then I can see here at recommendation what I should do to pass the security test here. And this even links me to the Databricks documentation, here in this case of Microsoft Azure, and shows me exactly how I can configure it. And once I do it and rerun the test, I will have over here. Same for some other connectivity stuff, but on the other side, for example, I use a customer managed VPC. So here I have this one checked. Down here, we move on with identity and access. Here again, I have a couple of things not properly set up. Like, for example, I have not set up SCIM for user provisioning. And there's also some other things. But on the other side, I am using service principals and all of that. Then for data protection, also a couple of checks that are done here out of the box. Also a lot of improvement for me for this workspace. And then we also have the topic governance right here. Here again, we have no log delivery configured, for example. We do not enforce user isolation and all of that. So a couple of problems over here. And then we also have some informational ones. And again, we have some things that we are doing great already and some room for improvement as well. So as you can see, you get a pretty good overview here about like some common best practices within Databricks and how you currently perform against them. And again, this is like a predefined set of rules. So maybe some of those things do not apply to your specific organization or to your specific team. So you can, in one of the notebooks that we were seeing earlier, you can remove these rules, or you can even add more rules that are not here yet. So this way you really get a good overview and stay up to date how you perform against the security guidelines. Now that we have our cost monitoring successfully set up and also our security ensured, we want to look into Databricks SQL workloads next and try to improve the performance there. You might use a SQL warehouse within Databricks for some ad hoc SQL queries, or maybe you have like a reporting tool like Power BI connected to your data within Databricks through your Databricks SQL endpoint. You may be wondering, is your warehouse big enough, or is it maybe even too big and you spend too much on it? Or you have some long-running queries and you just can't explain why they take so long and you want to dig a bit deeper into the root cause of these performance problems. And all of that and much more is covered in the next pre-built dashboards that I'm going to show you. The suite of dashboards that I'm going to show you just in a second is called Databricks SQL Advisor, and it was created by some of the subject matter experts from Databricks to provide some insights to DBSQL workloads. Under the hood, again, it uses system table information that captures all of the queries that were made to this warehouse. How long did they take? How much time did they spend in the queue, for example? And all of that is analyzed and also visualized in these dashboards. So you get a good overview about the state and the health and the performance and the costs of your SQL warehouse workloads. And not many people know about it, as it's not like a Databricks native product. It was created by some Databricks experts for the community, but it's not coming directly from Databricks, right? So this is why not many people are aware of that. All right, let's get into it. Let's see how to get it into your workspace and also what kind of insights you see in the different dashboards. This time we start once again within GitHub. Here you see the SQL Advisor repository, and all you have to do over here, I will put the link into the description, is to download these files over here. So first of all, you will need this dashboard file. So you just click into it and you download it. Apart from the dashboard file, you will also need a SQL file. And here you need to choose only one of those. It gets maybe too deep to understand the differences over here, but I would go with the materialized view one, as it's the most performant one. And we click into it and download it as well. Now we move back to Databricks into one of our workspaces where we want to import the dashboard to. And we go to dashboards over here and then tap over here, import dashboard from file. And here we select the file that we have just downloaded from the repository and click on import dashboard. Now you already have it in your workspace. You get also some README instructions over here, and you get different tabs for different analysis and different visualizations that are part of this suite of dashboards. But first of all, we need also to execute the SQL query that will analyze again all of our system tables, all of our queries made, and also some other meta information needed. And this will generate the tables that will be then used for these visualizations. So next we go to our query editor, and here we copy paste basically the SQL file that we've just downloaded from the repository as well. I've done that over here. So here we see the SQL file that I've just copied and pasted into my SQL editor. And make sure that you either have a catalog called main with a schema called DBSQL Warehouse Advisor, or you need to adjust the code a bit to write it into one of your preferred catalogs and schemas. And after we've run this successfully, we will see over here in our DBSQL Warehouse Advisor schema that a couple of tables were created, and these are basically joins and aggregations and cleaning operations based mainly on the system tables that we have in our Databricks workspace. So you also need to make sure that system tables are enabled for your workspace, but this is true for all of the dashboards that I've shown you in this video. All right, now our tables are all set up and we can have a look into the. So now that we have our data loaded, let's go through the different dashboards here step by step. I already mentioned the README is just some basic information about this dashboard. Definitely have a look here. But we will start now with the warehouse usage one over here. And here we get a good overview about the costs associated with our warehouse. We already had our cost dashboard, right? But this one is more dedicated to DBSQL workloads only, and it's also way more detailed. So here we see an overview. As you can see, there's not much I have spent here in my demo environment, but still you see like how much you spent in total, how many warehouses you have. You see your usage by type, so how much you spent on serverless and how much you spent on classic. You get an overview over here for the different days of the week as well. Normally you would have also different workspaces. I don't in this case, but normally you would see then over here for the different workspaces how much you've spent for each of them on DBSQL workloads. And then here again, very useful around tagging. So how much was spent for warehouses that you've tagged with a certain key value pair. And then down here you see also even more visualizations for the different warehouses, different kind of visualizations. And also you get like this tabular view as well, where you can dive even a bit deeper into the different warehouses, how they are configured and all of that. So this is just to give you a first overview about costs and how your warehouses are configured. Then over here on the next tab, it's about warehouse scaling patterns. So this will really help you to decide if you need to scale up or scale down your cluster and analyze all of the scaling behavior in the past. So if you have any doubts why a certain warehouse scaled to a certain amount of instances, for example, have a look here. For me, again, as this is a very small demo environment, there's not much interesting stuff to see. But still, I see here like most of the time I had 0 clusters as my cluster just scaled down when I have not used it for a couple of minutes. And then really only a small proportion of the time I had 1 cluster. But really, if you have like a lot of data warehousing workloads, a lot of different clusters, here it's very nice to dig really deep into one specific warehouse and see how the scaling behavior was. And then you can use this kind of information to either scale up or scale down your SQL warehouses. Okay, next is the Performance Advisor. And this is like really a gold mine if you want to troubleshoot any performance issues on your specific queries. So you again select a warehouse over here and you get all kinds of insights about how long did certain queries take on average, how much was queued, how much data was read, how much data was written. You can get very deep down into what exactly is happening and then use this kind of information to improve your queries, to improve performance. So over here we have some base query metrics. I will not go into too much detail. I will link you a blog post that has a lot more details on what exactly you can see here. But again, you see like all kinds of information. You see health trends of your warehouse. If you have any service level agreements, you can see over here how your warehouse performed exactly for certain percentiles. Then here you get more information about queued queries on a peak, how much was queued, how much was running and all of that. And then also down here information about like disk spilling, which is often a sign that you should scale up your warehouse if it needs to spill some data into the disk. And yeah, as I said, like tons of information. You can use all of that. You can go even deep into some specific queries and then see like how they behave, how much data they write, they read, how much they even cost, like per query. So if you tag them, you can even get these kind of informations. And this is like really, really deep information if you want to get down to the queries, down to what exactly is happening within your warehouse performance-wise. You will find these kind of information very useful. Again, I have used a very small demo workspace here, so there's not much insights I can get out of it. But if your company is using Databricks SQL heavily, this would really help to understand what's happening and to improve performance as well as costs. And then talking about costs, there is even a dedicated dashboard that goes also a bit deeper into the costs that are associated with certain queries. And it gives you even some insights if you're using dbt, how you would allocate like your costs to your dbt models. All right, that's it with the SQL Warehouse Advisor. I can just recommend you to install it into your workspace and have a look here. So tons of information, all of that very useful stuff and very great work by the subject matter experts that created these dashboards for us. All right, and that's already it. I hope some of these dashboards were something new to you and you can adopt within your company. There are many more pre-built out-of-the-box dashboards. I just found those 3 are very important ones that everyone should use. If you're interested in a second part where I show you even more of these dashboards, we have also some on data governance, data quality, job monitoring and stuff like that. Just let me know down in the comments. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.